Hi everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. Long time no see, right? I have not made a video in a super long time and I'm hoping some of you missed me, but anyway, I thought I would share this really cool card that I created. This is a very last minute card, and actually it's based on a card that I made quite some time ago, which unfortunately I put, here it is. This was actually a long time ago. Some of you might remember. I never actually finished putting this together, but this was from a really cool paper we had. Oh, I'd say it's probably been about 5 years ago, but it was, I believe it was called Typeset, and it was like newspaper print. So I did make a card like this for my grandfather when he was still with me. And it's a really easy card to make because it's basically a fun fold, a double flap, but you can kind of decorate it any way you want. So this one was already assembled. I just never finished the inside of it. So I thought I would do an update. So I made this version. This is using the Artfully layered bundle. Now this also does have some paper, and I'll pop on here and show you the rest of it real quick. I don't have much left, so I was kind of going through the rest of my packet to make this card. So this is the Artfully Composed Designer Series paper. I am 90% sure that this is still available. It is going to be going away very shortly, but the same thing with the stamp set. They are both going to be retiring, and there's also a coordinating die, but it's really pretty. And this is one of those sets that regardless of if it is or isn't retired, I'll still use it. So there is another piece of the paper here that has a bird of paradise and some Calypso Coral. So I thought what I would do is to make a different version. So you can see this one. It is a fun fold card. You can also, as I did here on this version, depending on how fancy you want to get, I actually layered this onto some sponged Whisper White. So you could layer them together with that, or you could just layer the DSP directly. So this is the card that I made. This is in the retired Just Jade, which I still love. You can see it stands up. I added a lot of fun touches to this as well. But the second version we're going to create is, holy moly, here it is. Must be wrapped in the bottom of this. Yep. Is a version in Calypso Coral. Now, I just moved. I was going to say, I just moved this, so I cleaned off my desk so I could work, but I cleaned off what I wanted to use. So these are the pieces that we're going to use. So you're going to take a standard piece of Calypso Coral. This is 4 1/4 by 11. You score it at 5 1/2 and then 2 3/4. So when you fold it, you're going to go back like this. You do want to make sure you really hit this with your bone folder. That way you get a nice crisp edge. And with your layering pieces, it kind of depends if you want to do them so they're really close. This is actually 4 1/8 by 5, and I haven't done my measurements in so long I'm forgetting. No, it's not 5. It's 2 5/8. So 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. Now, when I did this piece, I did trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4, but we're going to be using this panel here. So you still need your interior piece, okay? And we are going to do that in Calypso Coral as well. So I figured I would share that one with you. So what you're going to need is a piece of Calypso Coral. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this to, I think I did this one at 3 3/4. Yeah. So this is 3 3/4. And then what I'm going to do, I usually do them this way because sometimes I do things the lazy way, as you all know. So I'm going to score it and then I'm going to cut it. So 3 3/4 is here. So I'm going to score. Oops. And then I'm going to open this up, and then my score line right here. And then trim it. So now you have a piece that is your fold piece. It's going to go just like that. Okay. So that's the nice part about our trimmer. It does open all the way up. So we're going to layer that, and then that piece is going to fold right here. However, this piece we still have to adhere. We do still want to add something to this. So since this is white, I'm actually going to go with white because it's a little bit simpler. And I'm going to grab a piece of basic white. And so that was 3 3/4. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut this down to 3. I'm going to make a very thin border. So 3 5/8. And then this is just going to be square. So I need 2 of these. So 3 5/8 and 3 5/8. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to sponge it, or might not sponge it. I might do this with our blending brushes. I'm going to add a little bit of ink to the edges before I adhere it. Kind of like this one where it looks a little sponge, but I'm going to do it with this instead. So I'm going to grab my Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to grab my scrap. Just fold this underneath here. And I'm going to just do just at the edges. So there is still a little bit of ink on this, so I'm going to go just slightly. Doesn't need to be a lot. Kind of more on the corners. And just like that. Now this is one. The second one, as you can see, I did a little bit of a masking technique, okay? So what I did, this was left over from something else. I have a mask piece, so we do have masking paper now, which is really awesome. And you can use this over again. It does tend to be a little bit less sticky, so that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna just set this here, and I'm gonna do my very best to just kind of eyeball it so it's somewhat in the center. And you can see when I did this before, I'm gonna move it just a smidge. It is repositionable, which is pretty cool. When I did this before, I also stamped. Hold on, I just don't want that wrinkle to be there. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we aren't going to really, we don't really need like a hard edge. We're going to stamp something in the center, and we're going to do it with a different color. So I'm going to start again with the Evening Evergreen, but I'm going to hit this a little bit harder. And then when we add our words this time, and actually I think I'm going to make this a congratulations card. One of my close friend's daughters just finished 8th grade. And granted, these are nowhere near our school colors, but I thought it'd be kind of a fun card. And probably if you're giving someone a graduation card, they're going to love the card, but they're also going to love what's inside. So, all right, so that's pretty good. I see that my oval is a little bit askew, but I'm going to be okay with it. So I'm sponging that just a little bit more around the corners. I kind of feel like I like the corners to be darker. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm just using a paper piercer, and I'm just going to lift this up. Just like so. Now, if you wanted to, this would be the time to ink and mask. So what I did with originally is I inked this and stamped it. So we could stamp something, a little bit something on the outside. I'm going to go, before I put this up, I'm actually going to put these little words. Let me just press this down for one more second. And I'm going to continue with the darker ink. So grab that evergreen one more time. Now these words are readable. They're legible, I guess I should say. So you definitely want to make sure that you have them facing the correct direction. They may be in Latin, but you never know. Someone might still want to read them. I think it's in Latin, but I could be wrong. I didn't take Latin in high school, so. Okay, that's pretty good right there. So I'm going to close this up and then set this on the side. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up and peel away. Now, if you peel it against it, it'll come off really nicely. You see, I have a nice masked area. And then I'm just going to put this back on so I can use it again. So now what I'm going to do is grab my Calypso Coral. And this is a little bit dry, so I'm just going to ink this just to make sure it looks good. Okay. And I have two choices. So what you could use is either, man, I really put everything away. You could either use a Grand Kid and use the congratulations, which I'm not sure. I might use this one, but I know I have another one I grabbed as well, even though it will kind of stick a little bit bigger there. So I don't know if I want that one, or where is the other one I just had? Charming Sentiments, and this has a different congratulations. So if you did this one, you could also just do So Proud of You. You could do your congratulations here in Charming Sentiments because you totally deserve it. So something, I guess it kind of depends. Let's see which one we think looks nicer. This congratulations is also rather big, so I think I'm going to use the scripty one. And I'm just going to pick this up, and I just want to test this to make sure I don't have over inking in one spot and not the other. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to line this up so it's mostly straight. All right, there's that. And I feel like since I did a little bit of masking, I'm going to add a little something in here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp these little leaves, but I'm going to stamp them off first so they're not super dark. And then we can always draw some viney edges. And a little bit darker. And one more over here. Okay, then I'm going to grab my marker. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of draw some faux connections. Just like that. Like that. So there's one, and I'm going to do the same on this one. I feel like if I do it this way, I'll do it a little bit better because I can see. Okay, just like that. That looks good enough. So that is going to go onto the front. So I'm going to just assemble this. Okay. And now one other thing you could do, because I do have these other pieces here, I feel like what I might do is add just a teeny bit of some sort of a die cut to this, but I think I might do the little cut out one instead. So I feel like I want coral. We have this, that, yeah, add this in coral, have this little guy, and I'll do those two. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to mean. So I'm going to run these all through my die cutting machine. And this one, and then just give me 1 second. Okay, so I have all my die cut pieces. Just gonna pull these out. And actually, I only ran these through once, and they did die cut pretty well considering. If you wanted them to be just a little bit looser, you could die cut them face up. That kind of makes them just a teeny bit easier to drop out. All right, so all those. Oh, I only have one other thing. Just gonna poke this. And it kind of just depends on what you want to do with your stuff. Now, when I did the version here, I actually did sponge these just a little bit. You probably really can't tell, and you're definitely not going to be able to see it on the evergreen because the evergreen paper is so dark. But you could do it with the coral if you wanted to. Just sponge it a little bit. Another thing you could do too, if you have something dark, is you could also sponge it with white craft ink, but it is going to take a little bit more to dry. All right, so let me put that all on the side, and we're going to put this together. I'm going to pick these up, and I'm going to just move this over so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so we're going to start by adding all of our DSP. So this was, I think, one of my favorite stamp sets. However, I think I thought it was going to last longer. That's kind of always one of the things that when you pick a paper, you always run the risk, or a stamp set really, that it might retire. I mean, which does make room for new things, but also makes me sad. Okay. Now, if you will notice, when I have these cut, I have these pieces have a really thin border, and this one has a thicker border with the cardstock. So if that bothers you, you could either trim these a little bit shorter. So instead of an 1/8, they're a 1/4 inch, or you could trim this a little bit longer. It just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to take my front piece and pop that right here. Okay. And what I think I might do is, now as long as this stays in the border of the card, you're okay. So you can see, as long as we kind of get this to be inside here so it's not going outside of the card, we're good. Let's see how I want to do this. Might do it like this. I'm going to put just a teeny bit of glue. So I am going to use this other glue because it has a super fine point. I'm not putting it on the whole leaf. You could also use the adhesive sheets if you wanted to, but I kind of like some of these when they actually stick up just a smidge. I know this isn't glued down yet, so don't pay attention to that part. And I'm just going to hold that just for a second. Okay, and then these two we'll put on this part right here. And with this, I kind of want to just figure. I'm going to put them kind of intertwined, just like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue. Since this is a little bit wider, I'll use my regular Tombow. Like so. And then I'm going to go back to the fine tip for this one because I want to make sure that this main rib gets glued down. One good thing about this is it does dry clear, so if for some reason any of it gets in a spot you don't want it, once it's dry it will be clear. Okay, and just going to set that right there and just give it a press to hold. Okay. So the only other thing we have to glue down is just our little inside piece, which should give you plenty of room unless you want to write something different. But you could totally make this in something that is in school colors for your graduate. I mean, this would make a really nice wedding card as well, or an engagement card. Some glue on my fingers. Now, when you put this down, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close it together and glue it so I make sure that's in the right place. So I'm going to put my glue here. And again, I know this is hanging off, but this is going to be in an envelope, so we're going to be okay. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball to line this up. And since I have the liquid glue, I can maneuver it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to open and then, so make sure this is straight and just press. So another cool thing, you could do this with the pearlescent paper. We have that paper. We also have, this would be really nice even to do something simple if you happen to still have some of the vellum, because this will just overlay right over your card base color, which will give it a completely different look as well, which is really nice. Now you could also go one other step. You could add some bling onto this. We have so many different embellishments. We still have the butterflies. There's lots of different in color stuff. So I think I'm going to add just a couple of those. These are probably, actually these probably are gone because the in colors did retire, but since I have some of them still left to use, I'm just going to finish up with those. So I'm just going to grab my take your pick and we'll just pop a couple of these, even a couple of the light color. Actually, these are the soft succulents, or not soft succulent. These are the 2023 in color, so they might still be hanging around somewhere. Could do just a couple dark ones. There. You could put something over here if you wanted to. You could add some of the lighter ones as well. I think I'm just going to put, oops, come on. Two of the bigger ones. There we go. That's good. So those are just the remnants of the in color jewels. We do have new in color stuff since we have new in colors, which is super fun. In case you haven't happened to see them, these are our new in colors. So We have Parakeet Party, Sweet Sorbet, Orchid Oasis, Starry Sky, and Tahitian Tide. These are great, great, great colors, which are super pretty. And then we do still have the Fresh Freesia, Pale Papaya, Soft Succulent, Evening Evergreen, and Polished Pink. They'll be around for one more year. Now, just Jade did just retire, but I like this color so much. I have a lot of paper. This is one of the inks that I won't get rid of because I really love this color. But I hope you find this as a really fun and useful video. I would love to hear your comments on it. If you have any questions or anything that you want to say, I know I haven't been on here in some time. If you have anything you want to share with me, I would be happy to hear it. I am hoping that now that school will be letting out really soon, I'll be able to fit in some more videos. But I'm sure if you're a mom, you know, we only have so much time with our children, so we kind of have to enjoy it when we can, take advantage of it. Thank you guys so much for taking time to join me today. I hope to talk to you again really soon. Thanks for watching.